2023 is almost here, and so are the 2023 MacBooks, with loads of models to expect. But I think the real question is, can they still compete with the Windows equivalents, considering that the design won't be changing and considering that these Windows models will be getting loads of updates, including the new RTX 4000 series of GPUs. So here's every upcoming MacBook model in 2023 and how they would stack up against the competition. At number 1, we have the M1 MacBook Air at $999, but I do believe that there is an extremely high chance that this model will get discontinued once the M3 Air launches, as it's already been out for 2 years already. So let's jump straight to the M3 MacBook Air, which will have the same design as the M2 model, but with the M3 chip. Now, this is said to be based on a smaller 3nm manufacturing process down from 5, and we've actually seen a report back in 2021, so it is quite an old report, but it did claim that the manufacturing for the 3nm process M3 chip would begin in late 2022. And although we haven't really had any major updates since, we still expect the 3nm process to be on all the MacBooks in 2023. And thanks to this, the biggest improvements that we will see will be in terms of the power consumption, which will be lower, which means that we could see up to a 20-hour battery life potentially on the new Air compared to the 18 that we have now. Of course, if the M3 chip increases the core count even more, it will likely stay at 18. Now, we don't actually have any news on the core count just yet. And if the M1 Air does indeed get discontinued, I do expect the price of this new M3 Air to be $999, so same price as the old M1 in the best case scenario, or if not, maybe $1099 down from $1199. But how will this compete to the Windows offering? Well, the best competitor right now is the Dell XPS 13, and this is very likely to still be the case in 2023. And the Dell does have some advantages over the Air. For example, it is even lighter at 1.17 kilograms compared to 1.22. It has much thinner bezels, no chin at all, no notch, just uniform bezels, and a camera that is built inside a tiny bezel. And of course, it is also cheaper at $999 right now, compared to $1099 or so, which is what the M3 Air would very likely be. But of course, the M3 Air does have some advantages too. For example, it will be much more powerful than the Dell. The M2 model already is double in terms of the CPU performance compared to the Dell XPS 13. It will also have better battery life. The current model has 18 compared to 13 hours and 18 minutes when it comes to web browsing. Then the display is also better on the Air. We have a 1920 by 1200 display on the Dell compared to 2560 by 1664 on the Air. And then the Air also has much better color reproduction. Now, you can configure the Dell with an OLED panel, 4K as well, which is gonna surpass the one inside the MacBook Air, but it will also cost you way more. There's also the Dell XPS 13 Plus, which is more expensive at $1,200, the same price as the current M2 Air, and that one comes with an even more modern design with even thinner bezels. So yeah, I do believe that the M3 Air with even more performance and potentially even more battery life can still definitely compete and surpass a lot of Windows laptops in 2023. Now, the 2023 MacBooks are definitely something to get excited for. But the good news is that even if you have an older Mac, you can still make it feel brand new with Clean My Mac X, our sponsor for this video. I've been using Clean My Mac since I got my very first MacBook Pro in 2011, and even today, I still use it around twice a week to make sure that my 14-inch MacBook Pro runs as fast as it possibly can. With Clean My Mac, I can speed up my Mac in a matter of seconds by using the Smart Scan button, which automatically frees up RAM, deletes unnecessary cache files, and scans my Mac for any potential malware. One of my favorite features is the newly added menu bar icon, which not only recommends me things to do to speed up my Mac, but it also lets me see the CPU usage, including which apps are the most demanding, and easily quit them from there. I can see my battery health, my system uptime, and so much more. I can even do a Wi-Fi speed test right from this new menu bar icon. Check out Clean My Mac X by using the link below and get 30% off with coupon code ZONEofTECH 2022 for the next 5 days only. And now, back to the video. Okay, at number 3, we have the 15-inch MacBook Air. Yes, 15-inch, this is said to be a new MacBook that would launch in the first quarter of 2023 and essentially be a larger version of the 13-inch model, just with the M3 chip. In a way, it would kind of bring back that 15-inch MacBook Pro design style, which was pretty thin, it was very light, it did suffer from thermal issues and, the horrible keyboard, but these would both be fixed with the new 15-inch Air. And if you think about it, the lineup would make way more sense like this. If you take a look at the iPhone, the non-Pro model comes in 2 sizes, and then the Pro model also comes in 2 sizes. And this would also apply to the MacBooks. The non-Pro model, the Air, which is the more portable one, would come in 2 sizes, and then the Pro, the professional laptop, would also come in 2 sizes. Now, its best competitor would be the LG Gram 16, which does already offer quite a number of advantages. The main one being the weight. The 16-inch LG Gram is actually lighter than the 13-inch MacBook Air. And that's because it uses a magnesium alloy chassis. And it also has more ports. It has an HDMI port, 2 USB-As on top of the 2 Thunderbolt 4s, and 1 microSD card slot. It also has more storage, 512GB compared to 256, and also a better battery life, rated at 20.5 hours compared to 18 on the MacBook Air. Of course, this is the 13-inch model. The 15-inch should have a better battery life, possibly the same as the LG Gram, if not even better. On top of that, there are also other advantages to pick the M3 15-inch MacBook Air. For example, the chip will be much more powerful. The M2 chip is already more powerful than the one inside the LG Gram, the Intel 12 Gen, although the LG does have a fan for active cooling and sustained performance. The Air also has a higher PPI of 224 compared to 188, and the 15-inch Air could have an even higher PPI. And the Air is also thinner, with a 13-inch measuring at 1.12 centimeters compared to 1.68 on the LG Gram 16. If the 15-inch Air keeps the same size, it would be the thinnest 15-inch laptop on the market. But will it be able to compete? Well, it depends. If you're looking for the most portable 15-inch laptop, I wouldn't really say that a 15-inch Air will be that because of its weight. It will not be the lightest. And if you're looking for just better performance than the LG Gram 16, there are other 15-inch laptops that have dedicated GPUs, which of course are thicker and heavier, but they do offer better performance. But I do think that the MacBook Air 15 will be the best of both worlds. Very thin design, great battery life, incredible performance in a very thin form factor, even if that weight will be substantially higher than what LG has to offer with the Gram 16. And then we have the M3 MacBook Pro, which unlike the M1 Air, I do believe that Apple will still keep this MacBook Pro around. Just because this would be the in-between device, bridging the gap between the Air and then the 14-inch Pro. With the only change being the M3 chip and likely starting from the same $1,300 price point. But can it compete? No, absolutely not. Not even compared to the M3 Air, especially if that drops in price. Compared to Windows laptops, you do get more performance at this price point, but you also get a very outdated design. Literally a 2016 design, 7 years old at, the point of release in 2023. Like, imagine HP selling a 7-year-old laptop with updated specs. Like, no one would buy that thing. Okay, next up we have the M2 Pro and the M2 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. This will have the same design as we have now, but with the M2 Pro and the M2 Max chip options. That means 12 CPU cores up from 10 and up to 38 GPU cores from 32 on the M1 Max model. On top of this, these chips would also be manufactured on a smaller 3nm process, which means that they would have a lower power consumption. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the battery life will be improved as the core counts are getting increased, so we'll have to wait and see, but yes, these chips will also be based on a smaller 3nm process. So, will the 14-inch 2023 MacBook Pro be able to compete? Well, absolutely. The closest competitor would be the Razer Blade 14, which is actually very similar in size and features. Now, the Razer Blade 14 does have quite a few advantages. For example, it has a higher refresh rate of 165 Hz. It is also much better for gaming since it has a dedicated GPU, an RTX 3060 on the base model, which can be bumped up to a 3080 Ti, and then it also has more storage, 1TB compared to 512. But then the MacBook Pro 14 will have even more advantages. For example, much better CPU performance. Fun fact, the Ryzen 9 6900HX was actually very close in performance to the M1 Pro chip, of the base model of the 14-inch. Then we also have a much better display, which is high resolution, and also mini LED compared to LCD. The MacBook Pro is also thinner and lighter at 1.59 kilograms compared to 1.78. Not even to mention the speakers, which are much better. The improved battery life, 17 hours right now compared to 11. And then, of course, we all know that the MacBooks are much better at content creation with those dedicated media engines. So can it still compete? Absolutely. I think in terms of content creation, like I said, there's no match at all. In terms of gaming, it's still not viable on the Mac. And I should also mention that there are a few apps like After Effects, Blender that actually work faster on NVIDIA GPUs. So there are still a couple of extra advantages when it comes to getting the Razer instead of the 14-inch. And then when it comes to the 16-inch MacBook Pro, pretty much the same idea here. New chips, same design. The closest competitor would be actually two of them. Performance-wise, it would be the Razer Blade 17, and then the overall competitor would be the Dell XPS 17. In terms of the Razer Blade 17, this would actually be a very similar comparison as between the 14-inch Razer and the 14-inch MacBook Pro. The only difference is being that the 17-inch Razer has a high refresh rate display, 360 Hz, and also a much more powerful version of the RTX 3080 Ti. But the Dell has some advantages too. It has a much better design, also a larger display in what is essentially almost the same form factor as the 16-inch MacBook Pro. We also have much better GPU performance with a dedicated RTX 3050 or 3060, so you can also game on this. And again, we also have better performance in apps that do prefer NVIDIA cards, and you can also replace the RAM and the SSD whenever you want. Whereas the MacBook Pro 16 has a mini LED panel compared to LCD, you also get better CPU performance. It is also lighter at 2.1 kilograms compared to 2.21, and like I said before, much better when it comes to content creators with those dedicated media engines. So can it compete? Yes, 100% for creators. Gaming-wise, nope, and design-wise, I would still say nope, just because the Dell looks, in my opinion, 10 times better. And you also need to keep in mind that next year we would see the RTX 4000 series of laptops with even more performance in professional apps and gaming. And since we do know that Apple's planning to bump the prices of their MacBooks even more next year, especially the Pro models, well, maybe these comparisons would be a bit hard to justify in favor of the MacBooks. But let me know what you guys think in terms of everything mentioned. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.